I said, you're not getting the billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
What's going on, guys? It's Heath Legend here, back with another video. And firstly, I think I should offer a reason as to why I haven't put my voice to a video about this sooner. I'm going to be talking about the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden email situation. And really, it's because I haven't really felt like I've been able to add anything new to the conversation, especially as it's an ongoing story. You know, there's many political commentators on YouTube that have added enough to the story, and only now I've really felt like I've got something to add to the discussion. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the Hunter Biden email situation with his laptop, as more news is emerging, of course, and it's clear that social media and the mainstream media are running to defense of Joe Biden, and they're actively trying to suppress the story. Now, the short of the story goes pretty much, a laptop was in a computer repair department, and it hadn't been picked up. So the owner of the company took legal holding of that laptop as it hadn't been paid for. And they discovered that they had emails that may be sensitive to the US's foreign policy. And that laptop has found its way to Rudy Giuliani, which is obviously the former mayor of New York. The New York Post broke the story that the laptop was in fact owned by Hunter Biden, who obviously has been in trouble in the past and had question marks raised over him. And everybody that's on Twitter and anyone that keeps up with political news, they know that this is an emerging story that the Democrats haven't officially denounced or tried to pull away from and say that it's actually untrue. So until further notice and until further information comes out, or until the Democrats and Joe Biden's crew, until they say that this is a downright not true and they disavow these events and these occurrences, until further notice, it seems that the laptop, the emails and the photos that were found on them are real and verified. As I said, I do preface that, and that is conditional on the fact that what happens at a later date. But what I'm keen to add to this discussion is the fact that the media themselves, the mainstream media, whether it's CNN, NBC, even Fox News outside of Tucker Carlson, the mainstream media aren't covering this at all. And the UK media as well. I haven't seen any coverage of this whatsoever, at least not in the sense that you would expect it to be, in terms of there being potential corruption. Now, in one of my earlier videos, I did show the footage of Joe Biden talking about the way he withheld $1 billion in aid going towards the Ukrainian government unless they removed the prosecutor who had been investigating a company called Burisma for corruption and other charges. The company of Burisma, of course, being a company in which Hunter Biden was on the board of directors, receiving $50,000 per month in an industry he had no experience in.
You didn't have any extensive knowledge about natural gas or Ukraine itself, though?
No, but I think that I had as much knowledge as anybody else that was on the board.
If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. Probably not.
Joe Biden is on camera saying that he would withhold $1 billion in aid unless the Ukrainian government removed this prosecutor and effectively fired him. And as I said, what I want to add to this discussion is the mainstream media now, and I'll put some things up on the screen, just some screen caps demonstrating exactly what I mean. The only coverage that the mainstream media are giving to this story is whether this is in some way a Russian intelligence op, in terms of, is the laptop real or is it fake? And does that laptop have fraudulent evidence on it? So incriminating evidence that they've manufactured, that they've doctored in order to mess with the election, in order to effectively get Trump to win, in order to add a false narrative that Hunter Biden's corrupt and Joe Biden was involved within that in order to sway the public to vote for Donald Trump. Now, what I find interesting, and really what I do believe I'm adding differently to this story, is the media have not covered the potential of Joe Biden's involvement in corruption as well as his son. Instead, there is a concerted effort by the usual suspects within the media to run defense for the Joe Biden camp. Imagine if this was Donald Trump or one of his sons that had potential allegations of corruption angled towards them, or any form of unpresidential behaviour. Just imagine for a second. It'd be endless, wouldn't it? But then again, wait there. We don't have to imagine that, do we? We really don't have to imagine it. Because look at the fake Russian collusion hoax that was going on for 3 years. You had people like Don Lemon. You had Rachel Maddow. Everything was shared on social media. No social media intervention. Comedy skits like Saturday Night Live and whatnot. All they would ever talk about is endless. Absolutely endless.
Russia hates Russia. Putin. Russian. Moscow. Russian. Pro-Russian. Russian.
And that went on for nearly 3.5 years. The deck was literally stacked against Trump when he got impeached, yet it was all found out through the impeachment trial and the Mueller report that no convictions were held against him, and obviously therefore he's still president. During that time, the mainstream media, they never once offered the alternative to that. They never once thought to themselves, what if this is a lie? What if this is just a grand scale lie? If this is the greatest play of all time? They never once offered that solution. And if you recall back, I mean, I know it's hard to remember things from the day to day. It's very difficult, especially when life gets in the way. It's hard to remember things as they were. But as somebody that for a very long time has studied the mainstream media and kept a watchful eye on what they report and what they don't report, I can categorically say the main parties in CNN and MSNBC, from the top of my head, I don't recall them ever offering an alternative, especially when it came really, really deep within the whole Russian collusion angle. Whereas now, they are totally running defense for Joe Biden. The question I want to ask is, why are they defaulting to the alternative now? I'll give them a little bit of credit in the fact that they are now offering the alternative opinion, but they're only doing it in order to run defense for Biden. They're not actually talking about what if this is true. What if this isn't Russian intelligence? What if it is Russian intelligence? But what if it isn't? What if it isn't a Russian op? Then what? They're not talking about that. They're basically running with the story. And that's the problem with the mainstream media narrative. They run with the story for so long that it then becomes the narrative. It then becomes the truth. Because they know exactly, you know, for nearly 200 years of the press media, they've learned. They've honestly learned how to cultivate certain opinions within the mass of people, because not everybody is like us, not everybody is like me, not everybody is like the people that are watching my videos, the people that I follow and follow me on Twitter and stuff like that. Not everybody's like this. They'll just see something on social media and then they'll go back to looking at, I don't know, cars or whatever. They're not into the politics side of things like we are. Why were the media so outraged on the potential of corruption on Donald Trump's side? They were literally outraged by it.
We all know the president's no collusion, no obstruction mantra. We know it's false.
Everything they would ever talk about for nearly 3 years in the US and sometimes in the UK was about Trump's corruption. Yet they don't even care about the potential corruption on Joe Biden's side. And it is fascinating and quite frankly disgusting, really. Rudy Giuliani has this laptop. He has it and it's got potential evidence on there, yet the media are already running defense. It's fair enough that they're being transparent in running the alternative, but really we need to hold them to account. They need to offer both sides of things, because they're demonstrating more than ever now, more than even when Trump's impeachment was going on. They're demonstrating now that they're absolutely desperate to get Donald Trump out of office, whatever the alternative. They would rather put in a president in Joe Biden who has potential allegations of corruption going in to the office, and they'd rather talk about that after than they would for Trump, because we already know what's going to happen. Let's say if Joe Biden does get into office as president, then they'll talk about the potential corruption and then they'll flip it on its head and they will say, oh yeah, we need to investigate this. We need to investigate Joe Biden's potential, again, keyword potential corruption. And they'll angle it because they want to input the first female president, and if she can be a woman of colour, that's even better. Then they'll act like they're outraged, and they'll act like they're pillars of virtue, but they don't even attempt to be balanced. And what I'll leave you is with this, really. I know we already do anyway, but keep questioning the media. Question really why they're doing what they're doing, and question if their opinion ever matters. Will their opinion ever matter ever again? Because they aren't being outraged by the potential of corruption. They're literally not outraged by it at all. As soon as it's on their side, as soon as it's on the left, that's a discussion for another day. The moment it's Donald Trump, they want to talk about it for 3 years, even if it isn't true. We have to hold the media to account, because people like ourselves, we do ask questions. We are critical in the way we think. Whereas, let's say, I'm just going to put a arbitrary figure on it. 80% of people, they're just normies. They're just centre people. And yeah, they get their feelings hurt by politics they don't agree with. And sometimes they'll have politics that they do really care about. But on the grand scheme of things, they don't. And most of them don't fall on the left or the right. They're pretty much in the centre. And they'll be swayed one way or another depending on what they hear, what they see, and who they speak to. But when you've got people like Twitter and Facebook literally suppressing the New York Post story on Hunter Biden, and that legitimately happened. Jack Dorsey even came out on Twitter and said it wasn't the right way to go about things. Whether he meant that or not is a different story for a different video. But they outright said that they were suppressing that story and it was the wrong thing to do, but at the time they did it. That adds to the narrative that will sway normies one way or another. So we have to hold the media to account. We can't forget this. We cannot forget the media's reaction to this story, because now they're literally laying their cards on the table. If you like what you heard, please do like, comment, share, subscribe. Subscribing is very important. And please, if you can, get your friends to subscribe too, simply because the way the algorithm works on YouTube, unless I have a higher subscriber base, I don't get featured on other people's videos in terms of on the sidebar. So please do that. It's very important. If you agree with what I say, please do leave a comment. If you disagree, leave a comment too. Leave a dislike if you wish. Whatever side of the political aisle you're on, I do hope you're okay. Take care of yourselves and each other. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, Heath Legend, out.